Most true crime stories follow the same narrative of an individual who, due to circumstances in their life, ended up resorting to a life of crime and eventually being brought to justice. But some scary people hide truly creepy backstories that are only discovered once they're apprehended. Number 5. In the early 1990s, 25-year-old Stephen Trantel was working as a bartender by night in Long Beach, New York, and by day, he was a Wall Street trader clerk. During one of his shifts at the bar, he met a woman named Jean, who was thrilled when he asked for her number at the end of the night. The two quickly started dating, and Jean was certain that Stephen was the man she was going to marry, since they could talk about anything for hours on end, and he was a family-oriented man who worked hard. That prediction came true in 1994, when the couple tied the knot, and by 2003, they were leading a happy life, with Stephen working full-time on Wall Street, where he traded in crude oil futures. Their bills were paid, and Jean received an allowance while looking after their sons. But Stephen's job was a stressful one, since he was now a freelance trader using his own money. And when he made a loss, it often left him in a bad mood, a situation that seemed to be occurring more frequently. Jean offered to go back to work to help relieve that financial burden on her husband, but he refused. She noticed that he started losing weight and stopped looking after himself properly. Unbeknownst to Jean, Stephen had lost his spot on the trading floor and had been pretending to go to work every day and had become a very scary person. But his facade unraveled when he failed to come home one night after a fishing trip. He had told Jean that he would be back just after 1 p.m., but by 9 p.m. she became worried that he may have been carjacked or been in an accident. When her phone rang, she was certain that it would be Stephen, but instead she was greeted by a detective, causing her to fear that Stephen had lost his life. The detective would then reveal to her that Stephen had been arrested for a string of bank robberies that he'd committed over the past 6 months. In total, he had robbed 9 banks in Long Island of $60,000, but was caught when his fingerprint was found on one of the robbery notes that he handed to a teller. He later explained that he had no other options and needed to pay the bills. After confessing to the crimes, he was sentenced to 9 years behind bars. Number 4. The true crime story of Swedish man Sture Bergwall, also known as Thomas Quigg, started in 1991 when he was convicted of armed robbery. Soon after, he was confined to care in an institution for the criminally insane, where he attended regular therapy sessions. During one of these sessions, he confessed that he was one of the country's worst serial killers. He stated that he had committed the crimes in Norway, Denmark, Finland, and Sweden between 1964 and 1993. The police were notified when he was interviewed. It came to light that he was responsible for an 18-year-old crime that police had deemed unsolvable. Since there were no witnesses and no forensic evidence tying him to the crimes, he was convicted on the basis of his confessions while undergoing recovered memory therapy. At first, his memories of the events were vague and often erroneous, but as he continued therapy, he could answer police's questions with more accuracy. It would come to light that he was responsible for ending the lives of 8 people, but the case would soon take a shocking turn. During recording of a television documentary, Bergwall revealed that he had in fact not committed any of the crimes and recanted all of his confessions. Police were skeptical at first, but by 2013, Bergwall was released from the psychiatric hospital, and all of his convictions had been quashed. He later revealed that he had relied on hints and the body language of his interrogators to guess the answers that he was expected to give. A journalist named Dan Josephson claims that the police had been manipulated by a cult-like group who brainwashed Bergwall into confessing to the crimes. Since his release, he no longer needs to take psychiatric medication, and various movies as well as documentaries have been made about his life and confessions. In one such documentary, made in 2015, entitled The Confessions of Thomas Quigg, he revealed that he had made the confessions because he was lonely and plagued by mental health disorders. Number 3. Kenneth Brown was born in 1837 in England, and 3 years later, his family moved to Western Australia, eventually settling in the Champion Bay area, where they established their family home. In 1863, Brown was on an expedition on a river in Victoria when his father passed away. He and his brothers formed a partnership to look after their family home, but by 1872, Brown had withdrawn from the partnership and decided to relocate to Melbourne, where he engaged in horse racing. During this time, he started losing large amounts of money and started to drink heavily. His behavior became erratic and would often fly into a temper, which became worse when he was intoxicated. During this time, he married a woman named Mary Ann Tyndall, and they relocated to New Zealand, where Brown operated the Courthouse Hotel. During this time, he started exhibiting antisocial behavior and had to make 2 appearances in court for an assault on a shopkeeper and for threatening to end Mary Ann's life. By the time that they returned to Western Australia in 1875, their marriage was on the rocks, with many witnesses describing the couple quarreling openly, one of which turned physical. In 1876, the family decided to relocate once again, but while they were packing their belongings, Brown, who had shown increasingly worse antisocial behavior, produced a firearm and ended Mary Ann's life as he had threatened before. After his arrest, he refused to give a reason for the crime, and his legal team decided to opt for a diminished responsibility defense. But this didn't pay off, and Brown was sentenced to death. Records show that the sentence was carried out on the 10th of June, 1876 in Perth. But Brown's eldest daughter, Rose Burgess, claimed that while she was traveling in America, she met with her father in a hotel. A theory still exists that Brown's older brother had arranged for his escape from prison, and that he fled to the United States, but no evidence of this has ever been found. Number 2. In 2017, the dark history of successful hedge fund manager Gregory Bender was revealed after he underwent a medical procedure at a hospital in Florida. Bender had met his fiancée, Jessica Devnani, online in 2009, and despite being almost 20 years her senior, he felt like they had known each other their whole lives. During their relationship, Bender showed signs of jealousy, but it was never directed at Jessica, but rather at other men. But despite this trait, the couple was happy and eventually decided to become engaged. But Jessica's life would soon take an unexpected turn when she decided to surprise Bender with a visit while he was in ICU following his procedure. When she entered his room, she was surprised to find another woman, Daymara Sanchez, sitting beside his bed. She asked the woman what she was doing there, but Daymara replied with the same question. Jessica stated that she was Brown's fiancée, to which Daymara replied that she was his wife. His double life had been exposed, and Jessica was devastated. Brown later claimed that it was merely a marriage of convenience, and Jessica decided to take him back on the condition that he divorces his wife. But after months of stalling, she'd had enough and moved on with her life, later meeting 25-year-old Patrick de la Cerda on a dating app. But when Bender found out about the relationship via Facebook, he started sending threatening messages to Patrick, and within months, he was threatening them both, stating that he was giving instructions for his plan to be put into action. A judge ultimately granted a protection order against Bender that ordered him to stay away from Jessica and to hand over his firearms. By the end of 2017, the couple got engaged and were looking forward to their lives without the constant threats made by Bender. On the 27th of February 2018, Jessica received 2 calls from Bender, and she instantly feared for Patrick's safety. She tried to contact him but got no answer, and so decided to rush over to his house to warn him. But she was too late, and when she arrived, she found Patrick deceased. His life had been ended with a firearm, and as soon as sheriff's deputies arrived, she told them about Bender and the threats that he had made. But the true break in the case came when his ex-wife, Daymara, told police that she had found a murder plan that Bender had written down, and they decided to search his home. When they did so, they found a plan similar to the one that Daymara had described, and he was arrested. Bender's trial began in May of 2021, with both Jessica and Daymara, the 2 women who he deceived, testifying against him. Number 1. In 2016, Raywetherall from Kent, England, was told by a doctor that he was suffering from brain cancer and that he only had 18 months to live. This was terrible news for Ray, but for his wife, Haley, his passing could not come soon enough, as she was having an affair with a man named Glenn Pollard. But as time went by, Haley became increasingly frustrated with the fact that Ray was still alive, and she decided to take matters into her own hands with the help of Pollard and his 19-year-old daughter, Heather. The first attempt on Ray's life came when Pollard instructed Heather to end his life with a firearm. But she was unable to go through with the plan, but 9 days later she would try again. She took her father's weapon and waited for 5 hours before an opportunity presented itself. She fired and struck Ray in the face, but he survived the attack, and it would later be revealed that Haley sent a text to Pollard while visiting him in the hospital, saying that they didn't do a very good job as he was still alive. Heather, realizing that Ray took insulin on a daily basis, then devised a plan to make it look like he had passed away after getting his dosage wrong. Pollard instructed Haley to crush knockout pills into his food and then inject him with the insulin, but she was unable to go through with it. It would later be revealed that they had devised a scheme in which a swimming pool heater explosion was meant to end Ray's life. They went through with the plan, but Ray once again survived, suffering second-degree burns in the process. When their plot was finally uncovered, Haley was sentenced to a minimum of 15 years in prison, with Pollard and Heather receiving 17 and 15 years respectively. Ray has since been told that his brain cancer is under control, and he only needs annual checkups. Despite the attempts on his life, he has stated that he still loves Haley and hopes to reunite with her one day. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.